So it started. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Raj. I'm a PhD student at ISC, and I'll be conducting these live sessions for this course that is programming data structures and algorithms using Python. And it's an 8-week course. So we'll have eight such meetings, and additionally, we can have one additional in the last uh, based on the demand. Um, then so mainly this session is for doubt clearing session, and anything that is unclear you can ask in these sessions. These sessions are recorded and they'll be put up on YouTube, and any uh, you know uh, uh, and the link for the recording will be shared to you by NPTEL team. And whatever I write or whatever I type in as part of the meeting will also be shared as a PDF. Again, that link also will be provided to you by NPTEL. Okay. Um, so we'll be meeting every every week, say for the next 7 more weeks. Okay. Uh, yeah. All right. Uh, if you have any doubts, you can just go ahead and raise. I'm monitoring the this one, or you can also put it in chat, not a problem. In case you have any issues in your mic or something. And so I guess we'll get started. Do you have any doubts in week one or slightly week two lectures? So I remember that, I mean, week one covered basically the GCD program as a way to tell you about what algorithms are and what do they mean, etc. And also, I think some idea on how to install Python, how do you run a Python code, and so on. Week two videos basically go into Python, where you're talking about what sort of strings, what are lists, what are conditional statements, how do you write functions, how do you call functions, and so on and so forth. So if you have any doubts, we can start from there. Yeah, this is the first lecture for this series, for this doubt clearing sessions by me. Uh, and there's another TA who has their sessions from 7 to 9 every Tuesday. There's a bit of an overlap. So, but again, remember, all sessions are recorded. Yeah. So you will be able to find them on YouTube and the link will be shared. Yeah, so I want to clear this off first itself. You can use any ID. You can use a VS Code or Jupyter or whatever you want to do your assignments or to do your coding. Um, uh, just make sure you use Python 3 version. Okay. There's no attendance for these sessions. Yeah. Um, it's up to you if you want to join the sessions. Please mute yourself. If you have any question, only then please open your mic. So see, both the sessions are basically taught by different people, and they might cover different concepts in each of the sessions. So try to attend, but here because there is a timing overlap, you can see the video for the other session in any one of the sessions. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. You can use the videos and learn.
Also, there is a clash between
So,
timings. For data science, for Python for data science also is scheduled at 7 to 9. Uh,
okay,
suppose we take that course also, then that one, this one is clashing.
it's clashing. Yeah. So yeah. So in that case, yeah, then I would suggest, to see the videos and because everything is recorded for this exact reason. Yeah.
Yeah. But how many days, after how
Okay.
many days they will upload it, we don't know. Because,
So we are supposed to upload within a week. That is compulsory. So within a week, you will get the this one, the video link. Yeah.
in the NPTEL course, that same Windows announcement page or those videos,
Yes.
lectures, same lectures, will it be in the
So
same way?
no, no, it won't show up as a lectures. There'll be an announcement from the NPTEL site where you will get a link to share to check out these videos. Each link will
Okay.
be shared in that. Yeah,
So it's okay if we miss something, right? It's okay.
that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can't make it to any of the sessions, you can always watch the video.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. How do lists differ from classic arrays, specifically the way we traverse and access them? So in terms of the traversing and accessing, they are very similar, but the point is lists will basically have different type of objects in it. So you can have a list with um, so yeah, let's just yeah. So you can have, let's say, for example, a list can have different type of objects. For example, ints or floats or uh, you know, anything like that. But arrays cannot be that way. Arrays, they will have a same data type in them. That's the main difference between the lists and arrays. Is that clear, Harsh? Um, what's the difference between mutable and immutable? So yeah, so mutable means basically you can change the value present in it. Immutable means you cannot, right? For example, now lists are mutable. What that means is, let's say if L is defined in this way, I can change the second element, for example, to anything for that matter, right? And the list would have changed, right? So previously it was 90. L of 1 gives the second element. Again, remember in Python, the indexing is based on 0. So L of 0 gives you the first element, L of 1 element, and so on. Now what I'm saying is assign this value to the second element. So that is now changed, right? But let's say if I were to define a tuple in this form, again, tuple also supports any data type in it. But tuples are immutable, right? So I cannot do like, I cannot assign a new value, right? Uh, so this won't work, right? Uh, but you can access them. You just cannot change them. That is immutable. Okay. Uh, what is presentation error in weekly exercise? What do you mean? Pujit Kumar. So there's no attendance for this session. Uh, See, regarding marks, regarding exam pattern, regarding core what topics, etc. All of that we don't have the information. That is handled by course admins. So we are PMRF TAs. We are mainly meant for you to help you understand the concepts more deeply. So if you have any doubts on such things, we can answer. We won't know anything about the way the course is evaluated and all of that. Yeah, for that you can use the discussion forum. So there you can ask, the course TS will respond to you there. Okay. Okay. Any doubts on the GCD? Sorry. Doubt regarding slicing options of week two. It is regarding last position of list n minus one. Can you explain it in detail? So slicing operation. Okay, so let's say, so this is L, right? This is a list that we have. Um, last operation. So the point is in when doing indexing, as I said, right, 0, 1, and 2. So that is when you go from left to right. That is in the order that it is present in the list. Negative indexing is useful. Negative indexing is useful when you want to access the elements in the reverse order. All right. So here, L of 0, sorry, L of 0 gives you the first, element. L of minus 1 gives you the last element. So negative indexing. So minus 1 tells Python that you want the first element, but from the last, from the in the reverse order, right? So L of minus 2 will be the second element from the last, that is this string, and L of minus 3 will be the third element from the last. In this case, is the first element, and L of minus 4 will give you an L, right? Same like how if I do L of 3, it'll give me an error, right? Because L of 3 means the fourth element from the beginning. There's no fourth element. So that's the error that you're getting here. All right. Uh, so you can, is there any specific question though regarding the slicing in this? So this is about how you can access the, elements in the from the last positions. Um, if you have any question regarding the slicing, you can let me know. We're getting slash n with the return statement. Presentation error. Pujit, you might have to ask this on the discussion forum, because this is more to do with how the assignment is designed and to work. Uh, yeah, I would suggest asking on the discussion forum. The course TS might be able to better answer this question. PDF available regarding the PyQ question list that we can practice better for the exam. Again, I'm not completely sure that there is a PDF such available. You can ask on the discussion forum if the course TAs have anything like that to help you out. If you start checking from min of a comma b divided by 2, why does the time complexity still say O of min of a comma b? Yeah, so time complexity, uh, once again, that was not covered in the 2 weeks, right? Uh, I think it will be covered in more detail going forward. But the idea is time complexity, you measure it as a function of some number, right? Um, so this by two is basically some sort of um, uh, you know uh, constant fraction of what is there. So the it's basically about the order of that particular time complexity function. That is still in min of a comma b. So that's why it it uh, it means that the complexity is O of min of a comma b. Okay. Deepthi, you can ask week one questions or both the week questions, no problem. Uh, you can pull up the GCD program and discuss on that. Right. So, Johit, what is the specific doubt though? Um, so does anyone have the GCD program in their mind currently? We are giving m comma n as n comma m. Okay. And also assuming m greater than equal in the program. Correct. So we are assuming, okay, so 1 second. I think if I take m comma n, this has to be larger. So I think if m is less than or less than n, we do this, correct? Right? And then we are saying if m is, okay, uh, yeah. So if m mod n equal to 0, we'll say return. No, no, if m mod n is 0, you don't return n comma m mod n. So what's the program? So why are we using GCD in Python? Is there any reason? No, no. So GCD is sort of like an example for you to understand how what is an algorithm, how do you code up the algorithm. That's the idea. Okay. So I just open up the yeah, return n and else we say if. So instead of if, we can do the remainder sort of a thing. Yeah. So return GCD of n comma m n. Yeah. I hope this is the final version of the Euclid's algorithm, right? Um, so, so what doubts do we have here? Does everyone understand why what we're doing here? Is the final version, right? That we have. So, uh, so 3 and 4 lines. What are we doing here in the lines number 3 and 4? Does anyone want to, uh, you can raise your hand and let me know. I can call on you. Lines 3, 4. Any thought? Hey, come on. Lines 3, 4 are straightforward, right? So we're just checking whether m is greater than n, right? So if m is less than n, because the way we want to write the function is that the first element, whatever we are passing in this function, has to be the greater one among the two, right? So if m is less than n, we're just shifting, we're just switching the values between m and n, right? So n becomes m, and whatever value was stored in m it gets stored in n, right? And then if m mod n is equal to 0, that means, so this is a remainder operator, right? So this gives the remainder between m and n. N is 0, that means n divides m exactly. So then obviously the GCD is n, right? That's the greatest common divisor that can have, because n divides itself and n is also dividing m, and n is less than m for sure after this particular statement, right? So therefore, n is a GCD. If not, then we're looking at this. We're saying GCD of n comma m mod. Now this is because of the Euclid's this one, the idea there, where uh, the divisor will also divide the remainder. If that is not true, we'll discuss about that. Rearrange things if they're immutable. Can we not use indexes or slices to rearrange? And is built-in functions the only way to this one? No, no. So you can use indexes and slices, no? Uh, and yeah, so other than that, then there's no way of changing the string because strings are immutable. So you cannot change one element in it. Otherwise, they do like things like replace and all of that, which is basically the string functions. Tomorrow. Uh, last program in debug. Okay. So GCD of let's say 34 and 8, right? So we can just do like it like this. Yeah. So I can see M and N are 34 and 8. So this will just skip this line because M is already less than greater than N. And then of course this doesn't divide, right? So M mod N is not equal to 0. So you can just check this here. So it's a false condition. So it will go to the else. Is that okay? So now we're calling GCD with two numbers, that is N and M mod N. So what is M mod N? So that you need to check. M mod N is 2. All right. So we're calling the function with GCD of, we're calling it as 8 comma 2, right? So now you can see this is what somebody was asking recursion. Sorry, I think I forgot to answer that. So recursion is exactly this. See, in this function, when you are doing this function with 34 and 8, you call the same function but with different arguments. So that you can see it here. So now this is the same function but different because you're calling it with two different arguments now, right? Now again here 8 is greater than 2, so we'll just go ahead. 8 mod 2 is equal to 0 or not? Yes, it is because what do you call that? 2 divides 8, right? So m mod n is equal to 0. So this then becomes, it comes here, it says return n. N is basically 2 here, right? So it'll go ahead and so this function is over. This instance of this function, this you have three functions here. This is over. So now we'll come back to this, and that also is over because we just return from there, and therefore the answer is, oh, I haven't printed anywhere. Okay, so just let's call it d equals to this one. Uh, d, yeah, just run the function, and you will see 2 as the answer. Right? And 2 makes sense because 34 is 2 into 17, 8 is 2 into 4. 34 is 2 into 17 and 17 is a prime number. So the only possibility is 2. 2 divides 8 also, right? That's the answer. Is that okay? Does that help? So that's how you can see it in debug, uh, this one, recursive calls. This is string without using string functions. How can we do it using slices? Ah, ah, so that is exactly the sample function, by the way. Uh, so you are sort of, so you will have to do something on these lines, right? So where you, um, so here you can see, right? Yeah, right. So basically, as you can see, what you're doing is you're iterating over the string, right? And you're saying you add that element first, and then the rest of the list, whatever is there currently, right? So you will then keep on adding it in the opposite direction. That's the idea, right? So that's where you can basically reverse a string. So if you don't want to use the string functions, then yes, you'll have to come up with intelligent ways of solving the problem, right? Does Python has its own debugger? I think it does. I've never used it though, so I'm not completely sure. Okay. Nested list with giving an example. Okay, we'll get there. So mutable and immutable like string and float. So that's exactly what we were discussing. So let's say, I don't know if clear works here. Okay. Uh, so let's say you have a string, right? So when we say string, well, that means you cannot change the elements of the string, right? So if I say s of 1, I can access the element at, let's say, the second position, second character in the string, that is E, right? But I cannot change it, right? So if I do something like this one, it gives you an error. This is immutable. Same thing we saw for list and tuple, right? So list you can add, or you can access and as well as change it. But tuple you can access, but you cannot change the value. It's immutable. That is what immutable means. So mute, the word mutable is coming from the idea of mutation, something that can be changed or not, right? So mutable means you can change. Immutable means you cannot change. All right. Yeah, that's the thing. Nivita, I'm not sure what your question is. Mutable value will be affected at calling PT, but immutable value is not. Nested list, yeah. So see, the idea is simple. Your any list can have any kind of elements in it, right? It can have, as I said, can have strings, numbers, floating point, values, and so on. Now, this element that you have, so this is basically a list of, I hope you agree with that, right? And the first element is hello, second element is 24, third is 78.09. The fourth element can itself be a list, right? So that, for example, I'll write like this. And now again, it's a list at the end of the day. So it can itself have any different kind of objects. So it can have, for example, something like this, right? Uh, right? So here, this list becomes a nested list because it's a list within a list, right? So then think about how you would try to access, for example, let's say if you have to access this element, okay? So this list is actually the fourth element of the list L, right? So you will say L of 3. But L of 3 gives me this whole list. I don't want the whole list. I want the third element in this smaller list. So the third element in this smaller list will be, so this L gives me the smaller list. Third element of any list is basically what you will have to use in bracket of 2. So you will use of 2 like this. This is the idea. Okay. So if I do something like this, you will get your 28, which is what you wanted. Okay, is that clear? Will be affected at calling point, but immutable value is not. So Utkarsh, so I would suggest you to look at the NPTEL videos first. This is mainly meant as a doubt clearing. So if you have any specific doubts, we can go one after the other. Okay. So Nivetha, I think this is what you're uh, asking, if I'm not wrong. So something like this, right? Let's say, and if I were to say define a list, right? And call function of L and print of L, right? So basically, what we are saying here is that because L is mutable, right? It's a list, so it's mutable. So when it is passed into this function as an argument, it still retains the original copy of it, right? So therefore, I'm doing something inside the function to an argument which is named differently also, by the way, but it still reflects in uh, the calling function, that is L, the variable that was sent into it. That is this, right? So we had actually had it in this form. We had hello as the third element, but it got changed to hi after calling the function. Yeah. Utkarsh, that's the NPTEL link, NPTEL videos uh, where you signed up for the course. Okay. Why are we calculating by between two words also as a member? For example, hello has 12 letters, including white space in string length. Yeah. So see, yeah, so string basically is a collection or a sequence of characters, right? Even the white space is also a character, right? So string length is the the point of string length is basically it counts the number of characters. It's not going to count it's not going to count the number of words or uh, you know uh, uh, English characters. That's not the point of string length. Okay. Um, if you want to do that, you will have to write your own custom program for it. So see, I cannot solve questions from the assignment because the assignment is graded. So if you have any doubts regarding uh, the concept involved in solving the question, you can ask that. And we will solve the assignments after the due date is over. So once you have submitted, and I think this first week assignment due date is 6th August, I think. Uh, so when that expires, the next session will solve the whole assignment. That's not a problem. Is that okay? So if you have any specific doubt on what if something is unclear, we can discuss that. Yeah. So something like this, for example, right? So let's say if this is the so this sort of functions, I mean, this sort of function is given for you, for example, right? So how would you if I were to tell you, um, Uh, uh, okay, so can anyone uh, take a guess on what this function is doing? Any thoughts? Fibonacci, right? So it's not factorial, right? So it's Fibonacci sequence. So uh, why do we think that? So if yeah, so why do we think that? Because as you can see, for any that when you pass the input, it is going to just add the elements, whatever the function was doing for the n minus 1 and n minus 2, that is the previous to previous sort of a thing, right? And the base case, basically, this is called the base case, that is where the recursion should end, right? So if n is 0 or 1, then it returns the same 0 or 1. So then, so if that is your, I mean, if that's the, a guess that you have, you can always verify, right? So for example, how would you do that? You will say for I in, you know, a range of, let's say 10, we'll look at outputs. So print of I. So So as you can see, 0, 1, and then 1 is a sum of 0 and 1, 2 is sum of 1 and 1, and so on, right? So this is basically the Fibonacci sequence, right? And and see, if you don't have like this sort of a fancy, I mean, not fancy, but if you don't have like a good user ID, user interface IDE, you can always do this in your console, right? In your terminal. So for example, if this is your terminal, then you would define the function, right? Just copy paste it here, right? And then do this. Yeah, so it prints out the values. And for example, there are some of the questions in your assignment where you need to do some difference of the two function outputs, right? So uh, see, there's no need to switch on your camera. Okay. So yeah, so you can basically just do something like this func of, let's say, 12 minus of 3, right? So you will get some thing like this, right? So basically uh, this ends up being just like a uh, function evaluation, that's it, right? So your first week assignment questions are mainly such sort of questions where you need to look at what the function is, try to understand what the function is doing, and evaluate it over on the console on a Python environment. Okay, so that should help you get through your week one. Uh, this one, right? Just make sure you're using Python version 3. So whatever I'm also using is Python 3 only, as you can see here. So Python 3.9.12 I'm using. Just make sure that is, it doesn't matter what interface you use or etc. All right. Okay. Any other questions or doubts? Python 3, any version is fine. Any doubts on the week two, stuff? Strings, lists, conditional statements. Is everyone clear on what is if construct? Any doubts on how you should use if elif?
Do you have some statement like case statement in Pascal, equivalent of that? Using else if
No.
only? No.
Yeah, Python doesn't have a case statement or basically switch or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, the Python doesn't have it. So there is only we have to use if elif. Yeah, that's correct. Can you explain about nested loop? See again, as I mentioned, recordings will be available. So we'll upload it on YouTube, and the link will be shared to you by NPTEL. Look out for an NPTEL official announcement. They will share the link with you. Okay. Yeah, nested loop. Uh, so, for example, let's say you want to do something like this, right? So this is basically a nested loop. That is uh, in inside one loop, you have another loop going in, right? So for uh, so uh, so by the way, when you have for I in range of 10, what are the values that I can take? Anyone want to answer that question? 0 to 9, right? So and it's inclusive of 9. So you'll have until 9. And same thing with J, it'll be 0 to 19, right? So then what will happen here is that for every value that is there that I can take, which is basically your 0 to 9, same thing will happen for so for every value you will have this inner loop running, right? So I will go first, I will be 0, then J will become 0, then J will become 1, 2, 3, and so on until 19. Then this loop will end, right? Because that's how we have defined the loop to be. Then I will increment to 1, and then again J will start from 0, right? So actually, instead of this one, let me just print I comma J, right? So let's say if I do this, so the first value, right, is I is 0. So, first value is I, second, right? So as you can see, first, uh, let's make it a bit simpler. Uh, yeah. So as you can see, first I is 0. For I is 0, J goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then again, then I becomes 1. And then again, J starts from 0 to 4, right? And goes up to 4 and so on. That's the idea. This is a nested loop. Now I can do another nesting. I can just say for K in range of, let's say, 2 or whatever, right? And then look at how this varies. Okay, so it's again just going to be just a same idea. Value of j, k loop will start from 0 and then go to 1 because it's just range of 2. It'll end there. It'll print 0 and 1, and then j will increment. That's how nested loops work. Okay, you can do
So does,
something more.
does Python reinitialize automatically?
Yes, yes. So basically, what will happen here is this j will get reinitialized to 0 when I changes automatically. That's what Python will do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And then let's say, for example, you want to do something different. For example, let's say you don't want to do, you don't want J to go every time between 0 and 4, right? You want it to be, let's say, bounded by I, right? For example, we'll just clean this up for now. Let's say if I do something like this, range of I, right? So then what will happen based on the value of I, J will take its values because we're saying J in range, right? So range of I goes from 0 to I minus 1, right? So we'll see what it plays. So we're seeing only three values, right? Only three values. So imagine first when I is 0, range of 0 is nothing, right? Uh, range of 0 is empty. So there's nothing for J to continue there. There's no loop. There's no list in that sense, right? So this print statement doesn't even come about. When I is 1, then range of 1 becomes only one element, that is 0. So you see 1 comma 0 here, that is this. And then when I is 2, J can take values from 0 to 1 because it's range of 2, right? And so you saw sort of a thing, right? So that's the idea. Is that clear? So your this nested loop. So you can do again a bit more, like you can do multiple complex stuff in nested loops. All right. Sakshi, I hope this was clear. You can ask other doubts.
Sir, can you go back to this program that you were sharing?
Yeah.
So when we say for I in range of 3, the first instance would be 0, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you said that it will still go to the for j in range of 0, right?
Correct.
So that means it went to the next line,
It went to the next line. Yes, that's
right?
correct.
But in case of j, why didn't it go to the print I comma j then? Because j is also now 0.
No, J is not zero. It's what I'm trying to say. See, range. Basically, what does range do? So let's say range of 3. If I tell you, and we'll just print it out like this, it'll give me three values: 0, 1, and 2. If I do range of 1, it gives me one value because range basically tells you you start from 0 and until the whatever value is mentioned minus 1, until that you can print. But range of 0 is basically a empty list. So J, see, there's a difference between empty list and list with 0. This is a list with one element. The one element is 0. This is empty list. So there's nothing to iterate over. There's nothing in the list that J can take its value as. So therefore, this will be evaluated. Range of I will be evaluated. That will the empty list. But this function, this loop will not be evaluated because there's nothing to iterate in that list. So nothing to iterate, it doesn't go in the internal loop also. That's inside the loop in the first place. That's the idea. Is that clear?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Please explain LF with simple example. So, see, uh, okay, let me keep making file like this. But let's say if you want to, uh, yeah, right. So let's say if I had something like this, x equal to 0, uh, return 0 if x less than 0, return negative, and then you have else return positive, right? So let's say something like this you have, right? So where you want to say you want to categorize a number between whether it's negative, positive, or 0. So then you will write something like this. You will say, okay, x is less than 0, you return negative, else if you have something to do with this x, right? So if x is equal to 0, you will say it's 0, otherwise positive, right? This is one example that you can use to understand, right? if else if sort of thing. And this can be multiple. So you can do something like this. Let's say else if let's say x is less than 1. I would say return positive, uh, positive, but small than 1, but less than 1. Here will be positive and greater than or equal to 1, right? That's the idea. Okay. Hope this is clear. So you can basically do multiple such checks with the same this one. All right. So how does Python handle loops? It doesn't. Python does not know whether the loop is going for infinite time or whatever. So it cannot handle infinite loops. It'll keep running, and that'll be the onus will be on you to figure out whether it is running for longer time or infinite time, and then you have to take the appropriate action, either kill the program or and handle it whatever way you see fit.
So is there a command to kill the program, or some short key, or do we have to close the session?
Yeah. So it's been a while doing infinite loops. So I'll just share with you. I mean, say something like this. Ah, so I'll keep going. You can just do Control C. So Control C generally, I mean, in this Mac and Ubuntu, I think Control C is fine. I'm not exactly sure what's the right thing to do in Windows, right? So Control C is a way to stop the Python program from running. Otherwise, there are other ways to do it, ways to kill a program completely using OS level functions, right?
Okay, thank you.
Recommend a class or resource for beginner. This is the class for the beginner. Uh, why use if name? Okay, that's just my habit. You don't need to do that in the uh, terminal. All right. In the console, you don't need to do the if name is equal to and all that. Okay. So range function is basically it's going to iterate from, I mean, give you a list of values uh, based on whatever the value you present here. Let's say if I give 20, so this is a range object. If you want to look at what elements are, you can use list of range of 20, and then you can see that it goes from 0 to 19. All right. Uh, and I think there are, yeah. So I think somebody asked how to go backwards. This is how you can do it. So start, you can have some uh, any number. Stop is where it will stop, and step is that you can use to go backward or forward. So I think this should work. Uh, oh, it doesn't work. Oh, yeah, right. So this is basically start, and then until where. So what is the step you want to take? Positive will be you go towards that. Otherwise, negative will be you go backward. So you get 2019, all of that until 0. So, but 0 is not to be taken, right? That's why it stops at 1. Okay. If it's to find prime numbers, use factors in separate. Why can't we use a single method? No, we can use a single method also. It is trying to build the helper function sort of, right? Let's say both of those things. You want to be able to, for some use case, let's say you want to do, um, you know, get factors, and for some other use case, you want to just know whether the number is prime or not. So then having both of them will help, right? Uh, I think this question on setting up Python, etc., is basically the that lecture, I think, right? On downloading and installing Python. But again, if nothing is clear, just open up Google Colab that is available and you can use Python there. Okay. Yeah, I think this is answered. Yeah, so I'll share all the code, not a problem. All of this, whatever we're writing or whatever we're typing, everything will be shared as a PDF. Okay. Is this order okay? G of y is y plus 3, f of x is g of x plus 1. Yeah, so this is okay, right? See, the point is, obviously, see, the point is this. When you're defining the function f, and you saw that, there's a return of g of x plus 1, because g was already defined before, this is not a problem. Okay. The point is that if you were to change the function definitions of f and x, f and g separately, when you were defining f first and then defining g, that is also fine. That is the point that you need to understand. It doesn't need to be always in the order of calling, right? The function definitions. But before they're called for the first time, they need to be defined. That's the idea. Okay. Range works with alphabets like A to Z if you give range of Z. I don't think it'll work. Range doesn't work with alphabets. Session 2 is not the same session. So I think now it's starting, right? 7 to 9. That's from by a different TA. They will also record. They will also share the video link through NPTEL. Okay. Ah, function declaration. I mm, I don't know actually. Yeah, I'm not sure if there is a way to do that. But mm, because it's dynamic. I mean, it's an interpreter, right? So you wouldn't need to do a declaration of the function. Uh, Only when you have compilers involved, where you want to compile the whole thing into one, one exe file or something, then you need this declaring and all stuff and all that. Uh, yeah, I don't think you need to do that. Okay. Uh, any more doubts on functions, conditional statements? Any other? So I think Python 3 is fine. 3.x. Anything is after that is fine, not a problem. I don't think you need to, there'll be so much difference after that. So Selva Kumar, I think I mentioned that this is just my habit when we are working with IDEs. Don't much about it for now. Yeah. I don't know how the same question is coming, but recording will be provided. Um, by NPTEL, the link will come to you. Yeah. Okay. Um, what else you had? Yeah. So any what is the point where Python program starts its execution? Yeah. So um, yeah. So basically, when you're doing something, let's say run sample two, so it just starts from the beginning. The first is as simple as that, right? It just goes one by one, and so on and so forth. Uh, uh, Same thing here, right? It'll just start from the first line and keep executing it over time. That's it. Nothing, there's no hard and fast rule here, right? Uh, so yeah, so in recursive version of the code, so any loop for that matter, any kind of looping, recursive loops or these usual loops, there is no way to ensure that the function that won't go into infinite recursion, right? That has to be done by the person who is writing the code, who is coding. They have to ensure that you handle the um, cases correctly, so that you won't end up in the infinite loop, right? There is no way there's no way Python ensures that for you. Okay, so that's exactly what we were doing here. If I example, uh, where is that? Yeah. So if I miss any of these base cases, then that will start end up becoming a problem, right? So that is what and then the function will just keep on going forever, right? Recursion versus iterative loop, while or for, which is to be preferred? Uh, so uh, I think both are fine up to a level. Recursion will require, I think, a bit more memory because it needs to store function pointers and it needs to do that over and over. Iterative loops generally, at least based on what I can recall, I think they tend to be a bit longer than the recursive versions. So then your program length becomes a bit longer. That's it. Again, if you're able to solve the problem in recursion or iterative loops for this particular course, for this particular setting, just go ahead and anything should be fine. Okay. Yeah. So what else did we have? So in control flow, everything is okay. Um, Syntax rules, yes, you need to. Um, Easy way to I think you just get with practice. So practice as much as possible, and then yeah, it'll get. is not yet started. Do you know about that? No, I don't know about the other session. The TA will inform if there is something that needs to be changed. Ah, so ints are immutable, that's correct. But you're assigning a different value altogether to x. That's what it's doing, Harsh. So x is 10, but then you're saying that x has to be given a new value altogether. So it just rewrites everything. So 10 as a number itself cannot be changed. That's what they mean by immutable. Yeah. Explain for and while in simple way. Take simple example. So so what's the specific doubt here though? Because we have looked at multiple for loops. What's the doubt when we use while? Recording will be sent by the NPTEL folks. We will upload it on YouTube and they will send the link to you. Okay. Uh, Larger number first. Yes, that's the idea, right? So we said that we in the GCD function doing it reversing, right? For example, let's say if in case the first call to this function was with a number, the first number being smaller than the second, we were actually shifting the number, right? So that's what we were doing here. So that's the idea. Uh, yeah. So uh, yeah, so it's always the larger number first. That's the idea. Any idea is fine, not a problem. Uh, so by the way, if you any thoughts on what will happen if I run this function with this function 3.2? So this is the Fibonacci sequence number, right? A sequence function, right? What do you think will happen if I run this with function of 3. Any thoughts? Uh, you can just unmute yourself and answer, not a problem.
Not matching parameters. Therefore, I think error will come.
But where are we checking for the uh, this one, the whether n is int or not and all that? We're not checking that anywhere, right? The current implementation that is there on the screen, right? From line numbers 1 to
Okay,
6.
I thought it is 3 comma 2.
Mm.
You have put okay. Fine.
3
3.2.
count 3.
I
Yeah,
thought you have
3.2.
given two parameters. Two parameters.
Mm.
No, it's okay. 3.2 you have given. Okay.
Yeah.
It will
So
take
what do you think will
3.2.
happen? What will be the output? Any thoughts? Anyone?
2.2, 1.2. See, it will never become 1. That is why
Mm.
it will not return the 1. That
Mm.
that is the
Okay.
base for this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Will it ever become zero? Because you have two base conditions, no? We said if n is zero or n is one, then it,
Yeah. See,
yeah. So will it ever become
2.2,
zero?
2.2, 1.2, and 1.2, 0.2, and then -1. Yeah, it does never become 0. It will never become 0. So, or 1 also it will not become. Therefore, it will go into infinite loop.
Right. That's it. Right. That's the right answer. So here, uh, it's a 3.2. So we always do only -1, -2. So right. And so basically we're just looking at one previous value, one or two previous values and so on. But by passing it as a float, we have sort of, you know, not handled that condition at all. Right. So uh, then, so basically, in such situations, ideally, for this what will happen is it will just end up becoming infinite recursion, right? And the only way to stop the function, or stop the program, would be to kill uh, the program, right? Um, then, uh, so what could be one way of handling this situation? Any thoughts?
You can typecast parameter n to int n something. You can typecast
Type.
means
Mm.
coerce type for in the
Ha.
function int. You can convert to int whatever we said, int positive int.
Yes. Yeah. So that is one way to do it, right? So ideally what you would do is you would say, yeah, we'll just typecast the argument into int. Uh, now let's think about a bit more um, uh, realistic scenario. For example, let's say you're building this for a for somebody else, right? Um, what is a good thing to do there? Would it be useful? Would it be right thing to typecast it internally? Because they don't know what's happening, right? What would
Yes.
be a good way to do
Yeah,
this?
throw
Yeah,
error message that it is not acceptable parameter. Another is check for
that's
the
it.
value and throw error message. Only if it is
Right.
acceptable, it will be.
Correct. So how would we test for the uh, in this scenario? What do we have to do? How should I edit this function so that uh, it'll happen? Try catch won't work. Think about it. Try catch won't work because here there is nothing. The problem is there's no exception currently being thrown. Correct? So then you can do try catch, but you must throw the exception. So how will you, what is the test you will do, and what is the error message that you will send? You can add one more if for this. Yes, that is correct. But what is the condition that you will test?
Yeah, type you can check in type check type n is enter. You can check for
Okay,
that. Type n is positive integer or not. Int
positive integer. First, a type
pos-
of n. what do I do? What do I write here next?
N equal to int
Equal to int.
is true. Yeah, that is a thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Then this block will get executed. Then otherwise you throw exception. Int
Correct.
also there positive integers meant to be specific. After that, we can check again for the positive value.
Right. So this is how you would do it in this one, where you say that, if type of n is this one, let me just check that. Type of 2 is int. If I do that, I get true. I think there are another ways also like this, I think. Yeah, whatever. So type of n is int, right? So then only then do this thing. Otherwise, you raise the exception. You say, uh, uh, you know, uh, n not a this. I guess you'll see it later. But yeah, so this handles the case for n not being an integer, right? But I can always also give -3. What will happen if I give func of -3? Now, for this current implementation that is there, what will happen if I give func of -3?
Even can check for positive values of
Yes,
positive integers.
correct. It has to be for positive integers. So if I give func of -3, again, it's going to get into infinite recursion. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
It'll go
Yeah.
into infinite recursion. So for
Yeah.
that, then you need to do another level of check. You'll say, okay, if n is
Or another
less
condition you
than,
can add for the same condition. Type n equal to int and n value is greater than 0 or something.
correct.
Same condition we can add one
Perfect.
more.
Yes. If n is greater than or equal to 0, something, right? Only then you get into this. Otherwise, you get into this one. But here the exception message is not right. You can just say either you can change it like this. You can say invalid, right? That's one way of doing it. Other would be you can you can do like this. If n is less than 0, uh, you will raise an exception, right? You will say like exception. Let's say negative, negative integers not allowed, right? Right. That's the idea. Okay, fine. Which means the most efficient. Yeah, the last implementation is the most efficient, right? Because there, uh, the number of times the loop or whatever implementation you have will run only for the number of digits in M, maximum up to that level, right? So it won't be this one. Uh, I'm not sure when the 7 to 9 session will start. For that, a different link is there. Okay, two different people doing it to two different times. Okay. Does increment decrement operators not exist in Python? You mean that increment by one, decrement by one? Is that the thing that you're asking? So let's say if x is 1, x plus plus. So apparently it doesn't exist. Yeah. Yeah, no, it doesn't. So for that, you'll have to do something like this. And then, so you have shorthand operators, shorthand assignment operators, but this one doesn't exist. Yeah, it's throwing an error. I mean, it doesn't work. Yeah. Yeah, any other questions? See, the quiz is graded, so we cannot solve the question here, but you can ask any conceptual question that is the doubt that you have for solving the quiz question. Rashi. Uh, so you can go ahead if you have any conceptual doubt for solving the question. Can we define the class of the variable when defining the function? So Python, I mean, in Python 3, I think they started this typing sort of thing, but it doesn't check for it. Okay. So I'll give you some examples. For example, I can write here it to be int. All right. So this is a way to let the uh, programmers know, right? The function, people who are reading the function, and also for IDs, to help them understand that n is an integer. But Python as such doesn't uh, enforce this check on it, right? Which is why we had to do all of this pass for thing, right? You can still function of n, you can write like this, but you can still pass a negative, I mean, what do you call that? A floating point number, right? So you can see like this is now a bit yellowish, right? That is because the IDE is using its intelligence to say that, okay, you know what, you've passed something, but that the function requests it to be int, right? But Python as such will go ahead and execute the function. That's why it went inside the function, it checked, it is not int, it went here and it says, okay, raise an exception. And that's why we got the exception here, right? That's the idea. Karan, I have no inputs from my side for the question that you're asking. I don't know much about it, to be honest. Um, okay. Any other doubts? What else? Standard defined for Python syntax as like this Pascal ISO. Yeah, there is. I am forgetting the name right now. I think it's PEP. Uh, yeah. Uh, but yeah, I keep forgetting the full form and all of that. But there is, yeah, there is a standard. See, the question, so Rashi, the question is about trying to understand what the function is doing, right? And what it would do for other scenarios. So the this whatever exercise we did as part of writing this function, right? Changing this function right now, this should help you understand how to solve that question, right? And that's the point of these exercises, to give you similar questions, uh, but we cannot solve the same questions here. Okay, fine. Uh, so if you have any doubt in this function, let me know. We can do it again, not a problem. Current, please send me an email. We can chat over that. Uh, how to think about new algorithms every time. If you want to more efficiently than the previous one, I would like to know what the process. Yeah. Uh, so there is no hard and fast rule. You just need to think about how to solve the problem in different ways. For example, just take the GCD example, right? Just because the full form of GCD is basically greatest common divisor. So obviously, that as your guiding principle, if you were to look at all possible divisors and then look at the common divisors and then do the greatest of that, um, that is a way to solve the problem, yes. But for doing it efficiently, you you need to think a bit more. That is nobody can solve for that, and there's no hard and fast rule for doing such things. You just need to think about the problem more deeply and think about how to solve it in a different manner, etc. Um, and that's the logic for GCD program if you think about it, right? Because you when you break it down in that remainder form, okay, yes, instead of doing it iteratively, I can do it in a much more intelligent way. Yeah. So how are queues implemented in Python? I think this is going to happen in the next or next week. Uh, yeah, there'll be this linked list sort of implementations where you implement queues and all of that. They'll come later. Yeah. Again, no hard and fast rule, no rule book for optimizing space-time complexity. Um, First of all, uh, yeah, so first of all, being able to accurately understand the space-time complexity is one big challenge, first of all. That I think we will do in this course, if I'm not wrong, I'm not sure. I think there will be some uh, lectures on that. Uh, but yeah, but how do you optimize that is again exactly what I was saying to Swapna's question, that there is no one rule book to follow. You have to think about the problem in multiple different ways and see which is more efficient, and also depends upon your uh, uh, your issue at hand. For example, let's say you have a very large memory available with you, then you wouldn't care as much about space complexity, but you'll care more about time complexity. But let's say if you were to say that, my space is limited, it's okay if I take more time, then you will care more about space complexity than time complexity. And generally, these two can also have some trade-offs involved. So you will have to just try out different things, read more, and see what people have done and how you can improve your process. Okay. Any any other doubts? Have we so everything clear in the lectures? No doubts. Why is it complicated? In the sense you mean to understand the program once you look at it, is that what you're saying about it being complicated? But that complication gives you faster execution, right? Uh, yeah, algorithm compared to other versions. So what I think you're saying is that yes, the code becomes a bit quote unquote unreadable because you need to know the logic behind the code before you're able to understand it. So if somebody brought you that code and told you, okay, this is what GCD implement. I mean, this function will give you GCD. You will just end up thinking what is happening, unless you know the internal logic, right? So, uh, yeah, in that way, it is a bit more complicated, but that's not the uh, reason what we are why we are solving. Our idea here is to write efficient code. It might use complicated logic, but as long as it is efficient, that is what we need to we care about in this sort of setting. Yeah, you can perform bubble sort, merge sort, etc. using the sort function. Uh, I don't know if sort function allows you to use different algorithms, but it will give you a sorted list at the end of the day. Uh, but the idea is that using this small, simpler problems like sorting, searching, etc., that will help you build uh, algorithmic knowledge. Then you can see how how you can make things uh, quicker in general, right? That's the idea of. Uh, Miduna Varshini, what's the issue with GCT concept? What is unclear about it? Program list for practice. I'm not aware of it. You can ask the course TAs on the discussion forum. Yeah. Okay. Um, we still about have any other general doubts. If you have, you can ask. Not a- did everybody understand the floating point representation? What is the for int? There was a different thing happening, but for float there was something else happening. How to convert a program to Python from any other language? There's no tool to do that. Uh, you have to understand the other language, you have to understand the program, and then re-implement it from scratch in Python. There is no direct way of doing things. Other in programming is a practice. Uh, Shashi, I'm not sure the question. So program logic is basically this sort of a thing, right? That'll only come with practice. Okay. And you can, so for more practice, you can just go to like the online tools like Lead Code and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, Lead Code is the one of the websites which has lots of you know problems and and also allows you to check your uh, function, uh, all of that. So you can use that to improve your programming skills and algorithmic skills and how to do things more efficiently, etc., etc. That can give you. So it's basically like you're exposing yourself to more and more difficult challenges, and then you're forcing yourself to think what's a good way to achieve some problem. Yeah. I have no particular recommendations for textbooks to build good TSC skills as of now. Uh, I can check and come back uh, for the next week. So just you know uh, practice both of them side by side and see what is present, what is not present. So um, there are many different things like that which are in C but not in Python, and vice versa. Uh, but just with more practice, you'll become comfortable using both of them separately. Uh, okay, Karan has given a book. So, yeah, the recording will be shared uh, by the NPTEL folks. Yeah. Uh, yeah, so I learned Python on the job. My job required me to learn Python, so it was um, there's nothing like studying Python. That's the thing with programming. As much as you do, you will get. Okay, just like with any other skill that you need to have. So Deepa, we did some questions like that, like this sample one, sample two, etc. So feel free to look at the recording once we're done here. Hmm? Uh, okay. Okay. What else? Um, was everyone able to install Python at least as part of your as part of doing the assignment? So Python is dynamically typed, you're right. But once it has a type, then what, how do you think it'll change? It's not that dynamic. So info of -3 colon that you're doing, that will give you a string. You'll give you 008 in a string format. You cannot add one to it. That is not right. Correct? That's the reason it's failing. Python and Python DSA. Python is a language. DSA is the concept. That is a data structures that you use and algorithms that you will use to solve a problem. Python is the way to implement uh, those concepts onto machine, right? Um, you can do with Java, you can do with C, any other uh, you know language that you prefer. Did they all understand how to concatenate two lists, concatenate strings? Any doubts on that? Does anyone have a doubt on the logic behind the GCD algorithm, the Euclid's algorithm that finally uh, was developed? The remainder trick that was done. Yeah, Anusuya, it will be uploaded online. No doubts, sir. Everything is clear in the first 2 weeks lectures. Yeah, I think that's how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to write the uh, program in that space that is being provided. Uh, but any other doubts? I mean, exactly how it will function, and if you have any issues, then you have to You'll have to talk to the course TAs using the discussion forum. So these lectures will be uploaded to YouTube and the link will be sent to you by SMS. No doubts. Nice. So there is some in the programming assignment in the instructions. They've written, right? Ignore warnings about presentation errors. I'm seeing it just now. So if they've asked you to ignore warnings about presentation errors, I think it is safe to ignore warnings about presentation errors. So just make sure the logic is right, and be that should be fine. Yeah. And make sure you submit instead of just what's it called, compile and run. Only on submit, apparently your code will be sent. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think you can ignore the new line character, sort of. That's what I think it's the that's what a presentation errors could be. But please verify it with the course TAs. Yeah, because we are not uh, privy to these details. Uh, Iterative version. See, just by changing A not equal to B to A modulus B, that doesn't that is not going to affect it a lot. What is the whole program that you're doing? And see why it is faster and more optimal, etc. You will get to do this more formally going forward. I think in week 3 or week 4 you will discuss this in more detail. But think about it. Think in terms of how many times the loop is run, right? So using the Euclid's method, you will see that the number of times you're running the loop, recursion, is much smaller compared to, let's say, while doing a simpler than implementations. That's one proxy that you will have for understanding why it's taking longer and therefore suboptimal. Uh, yeah. So Shashi, uh, we cannot solve the questions of the quiz because they are graded. You need to solve uh, this question that you were doing, sample two. This is sort of on the lines of how that question is, right? So please go through this. Uh, this will give you an idea on how to solve question four. Okay. Yeah, so any doubts on, I mean, were you able to install Python properly? Any problems installing Python? So between recursive functions and uh, simple, loops, um, any recursive function can be solved as a loop, and any loop function can be solved as a recursive function. So just if you want to get more practice on how to write recursive functions, whatever loop-based programs you see, try to write it as a recursion and vice versa, right? That will give you practice for both sides of things, um, right? That way you can build uh, clarity on how to use both of these. Recursive functions are a bit difficult to uh, debug while working through them. You need to make sure your base conditions are proper. So recursion, the idea is you're calling yourself. The function calls itself. It's called a recursion. That's it. Nothing else. Loop is basically just iterating through a sequence. Uh, these are two very different things, but ideally the point is that uh, it's a way to traverse one sequence of things, right? So both of those are interchangeable up to a level. Yeah. So yeah, so I use uh, Python for doing machine learning uh, based problems. Uh, that's the that's the thing I use Python for. Python has a lot of support for machine learning libraries. Um, yeah. Okay. If there are no more questions, we'll close the session for today. We'll meet again on next Tuesday, same timing, uh, 6 to 8. Link is also same. Um, so I would suggest go through. So by that time, week 3 should be lecture should be up. So we'll discuss week 2, any pending doubts that you might have, and week 3 lectures. Yeah. So you can come with whatever doubts you have in uh, to get clarified. Okay. It's not possible to do it on weekends. Once the time is fixed, it's fixed uh, from the NPTEL side. Okay. Thank you for coming. We'll meet again next Tuesday.